Hello and good morning. It's Phil and Heather, and today we are at the Nickajack Dam, which is actually right there. You can't see it. The sun is coming this way, so I needed the camera to be on that side of us. But this is the Nickajack Dam. The lock is right there. And we're down here because some people that we have seen on Facebook have seen a brown booby, which is a bird.
Relative of a blue-footed booby.
Yeah, relative of a blue-footed booby from the Galapagos, and the brown booby is not supposed to be anywhere near here. What's the northernmost part of its range, Heather?
It's like northern Mexico, the coast of northern Mexico.
So nowhere near here, and but our friend Joy got pictures of it yesterday, and some person that is in a Tennessee wildlife group that we don't know spotted it and kind of let everybody know that it's here. I'm surprised this whole bank's not loaded with photographers, because this is, and there may be more later today. We're pretty early. What time is it? Like 8 o'clock in the morning?
It's 8:30 our time, 7:30 here.
So we're in Central Time now, but so 7:30 here, 8:30 our time. And anyway, so I think we're going to go maybe down to the fishing pier or down there somewhere. Heather sees it. Where do you see it at the end of the lock?
Yeah, at the very end of the lock, there's like a black and white striped column, and it's perched there. That I've heard it's fishing in the lock, so it's staying right around there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, well, the lock probably, as it lowers and fills, probably churns up dead fish that it's easy to catch.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to get started on trying to make some photos. There's a lot of other birds here. It's kind of like Chickamauga Dam. There's cormorants here and great blue herons, so we'll do all sorts of photography. I've got 4 camera bags worth of gear, counting Heather's, in the car, so I don't know what all I'm going to be using, but for portability I'll probably use, a lot of the time I'll probably just use the 200 D500 and the D500 unless we get set up with a tripod, and then I'll probably switch to the 500 f4 and a teleconverter. So we'll see. Let's get going.
Okay.
This great blue heron in-flight photograph, while not spectacular, is the only photograph that I made with the 200 D500. It quickly became apparent that I needed to switch to the 500 f4 and the 1.4 teleconverter for this location. All right, well, there goes the lock horn. All right, we've moved down a lot closer. We were way up there at the top of the hill. Now we're down here, and we're almost directly across from the very opening of the upriver part of the lock, which is where the brown booby's been perching, and then it will take off and fly around. Is that it?
Yeah, it's flying.
Okay, well, we got to get to work. The
booby's here.
The booby's on the movie. I really enjoyed getting photographs of the brown booby right as it was landing on the end of the lock, so far away. Lots of interesting wing positions, and in that morning there was pretty nice light on the bird as it landed, but this shot is so far away, and even with the teleconverter and the 500 f4 I still had to crop quite a bit. So we love Nikon mirrorless cameras, but we found that they leave a little bit to be desired for birds in flight photography. If they miss focus, they will not regain. So I'm using the Z50 to make this video, but for photography on birds in flight, Heather is using her 18-400 Tamron lens and the D7100 DSLR, and I've pulled out the old D500, possibly the finest wildlife camera ever made, and the 500 f4 lens and a 1.4 teleconverter. So Heather's operating today with 600 millimeters effective, and I have 500 times 1.4 is 700 times 1.5 is 1050. So I definitely have the advantage, and I'm faster, f5.6, and she's 6.3. But anyway, we're right in the right spot. We just gotta wait for the bird to fly and hope it flies pretty close over here, and maybe we'll get a shot. In the meantime, we can dial in our settings and that sort of stuff. The brown booby is kind of perched across the river from us, but occasionally it goes up and flies around. But in the meantime, there's been a lot of osprey activity, including Heather's taking a picture of one that's perched in a tree, probably 40 yards from her. We weren't expecting the Osprey, but we were sure happy to see him. This picture's from a long way away, and you can see the fog in front of the mountain in the distance. And this Osprey was just about to dive, and at the last second it stopped and didn't dive, or I would have gotten some more diving photos. This one came really just right as far as the 500 f4 and the 1.4 teleconverter, so I could fill the frame with the bird and not clip the wings off at all. And then the photograph that Heather was making was of this same, I believe this is a juvenile osprey in a tree, and I made a couple of photos that I shared, and this is one of those. And here is my other, all of the same bird in the same tree in the same spot. I shared two different ones because I caught the bird pointing in two different directions. But I think it's really interesting to see Heather's photo, which is coming up, and how different she did her edit. She put a lot more drama into her edit than I did mine, and it's really cool, really proud of the work that she did on this edit, kind of darkening the background more than I did. And it's really fun to watch her work on photos. Here is the brown booby, the bird that we were actually there to see, flying in the great distance, but I love the background on this, and the light on the bird was pretty good. And even though this is super far away and I had to crop it a lot, it still looks really nice. And here is another one of my photos of the osprey, really far away, but this is really pretty with the background. Instead of just a white sky like my up close photo had just a white sky, this has something in the background. And now look at this. This is a pass by that the osprey did that was so close that I could not get it all in the frame with the 500 f4 and the 1.4, but Heather, working with the Tamron 400mm, was able to get it in there, and I really like her warm edit on this shot. I went all the way back to the car so I could get my big tripod instead of using a monopod. That way I could get some video footage of the brown booby over there across on the lock. And you know, with the D500, you can also, when you're doing video, you can increase it another 1.3 to make the range even better. So the D500 is not a good autofocusing video camera, just like the Z6 and is not a good birds in flight autofocusing stills camera, but it is great for long distance of something that's not moving. So I made a short clip of the brown booby so you can see it where we're waiting for it to leave and hopefully fly around. Okay, so here is some footage of the brown booby made with the D500 and the 500 f4 and the 1.4 teleconverter as it stood stationed at its location there at the entrance to the Nickajack Dam lock. What a cute bird it was. Well, we are still here. We've been here for, what time is it?
It's 10:16 and we got here at like 8:30.
So we've been here about an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. I've moved further down the sidewalk. If you want to call it a sidewalk, it's pretty broken up. All the way down here. Probably better for the shots of the brown booby, but the osprey was too close from this location when it came by. But we've been making photographs of fishermen and cormorant and osprey, and occasionally the brown booby will fly, but for the most part, it just sits perched. I thought this clip was really interesting. The brown booby was there at its location that it had staked out, and a couple of crows came up, and for a while they didn't bother it at all, and then all of a sudden they decided to harass it, and they ran it off for a little while, and there it goes. There were several small fishing boats in the area fishing. As a matter of fact, one kind of got too close to the brown booby and ran it off for a minute, but I saw this guy had a fish on, and I decided I would get a photograph of him as he pulled it up out of the water. They looked pretty happy. And here is another brown booby photograph, and you can see the dam and some of the power towers, because that's a hydroelectric dam, the Nickajack Dam is in the background. This is probably the closest up shot that I got. Our friend Joy got a much closer shot the day before. And here's another landing picture, and this is my favorite wing position for a bird, and I hate that I don't have the bird's head in the shot, but this is called orchestra conductor, and it's kind of the holy grail of wing positions, and you can get this when the birds are coming in for a landing and putting on the brakes. And here's a shot of a double-crested cormorant as it flies fast and low over the Tennessee River. And I love these birds. They have beautiful turquoise eyes. And when they come in for a landing, it's quite a show. And check out Heather's photograph of this one as it's landing. And she really captured it beautifully. And you can see the sun is hitting the turquoise eye really well, so it's nice and bright. Really a beautiful photograph. I think this is probably Heather's favorite photograph of hers of the day. I think I probably like the Osprey better. And then you may have seen in my previous video where I was using my Helios lens, I made a photograph of some of these seed pods, and Heather made a couple, and here they are, of the seed pods that were growing there on the side of the Tennessee River at the Nickajack Dam. Well, I think we are going to pack up all this gear and head on back to Ooltewah. It's really cool to see and get to photograph a brown booby, but it never did get really close to us. So all the photographs are really, really small in the frame, even with the big rig. But maybe one or two of them will be okay, and if so, you've already seen them. And we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up, and maybe subscribe and hit the bell. Boing, 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 boing. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.